Have you ever felt that emptiness, an ache for something you can't quite name, but that seems to howl deep within your soul? Like the lonely wolf who, despite living in packs, sometimes finds itself under the moon, emitting a primal call for connection. We humans also carry a profound need for belonging. This emotional neediness is an invisible bond that ties us to each other, a relentless search for affection, recognition, and a place in the world. Get ready to dive into the instincts that drive us and discover how animal nature can teach us about the most human emotions. Emotional neediness is far more complex than a simple lack of company. It manifests as a deep, persistent void that almost imperceptibly tries to be filled by external elements, the approval of others, unconditional affection, recognition for our actions, or simply the vital sense of belonging to something larger than ourselves. It is the intrinsic belief that our integrity or happiness depends fundamentally on the presence and validation of another person or a specific group. How does this neediness infiltrate and reveal itself in our daily lives, shaping our behaviors and decisions? Think about the unbridled pursuit of validation on social media, an omnipresent phenomenon in the digital age. Every like, every share, every new follower is interpreted as an immediate confirmation of our relevance and worth. The absence of these digital interactions, on the other hand, can lead us to question our own validity, plunging into a cycle of self-doubt and insecurity. It's as if the screen becomes a mirror reflecting our acceptability. Consider also the painful situations where people remain in toxic and even abusive relationships. The fear of facing loneliness is so overwhelming that the familiar pain and the illusion of companionship become preferable to the terrifying prospect of an unknown solitude. The dread of being alone outweighs dignity, mental health, and physical well-being. It's the neediness whispering, "Better to be poorly accompanied than alone." Neediness often leads us to a people-pleasing behavior at all costs. How many times do we say yes to requests that overwhelm us when our body and mind scream for a no? We do this to avoid disappointing others, to prevent exclusion, or, even worse, to keep from being forgotten. This relentless pursuit of external approval shapes our choices, our words, and even our dreams, always with an eye on possible reactions from others. It's the inner voice that warns us. If I'm not useful, if I'm not loved, I fear I won't be seen, that I'll be discarded. Another common and revealing manifestation is the extreme difficulty in coping with one's own company. When you find yourself alone, how often do you feel an uncontrollable urge to fill the silence? The phone becomes an extension of your hand. The television is turned on out of habit. Loud music is a constant. This internal agitation, this escape from solitude, is a clear symptom of a neediness that dreads emptiness and desperately seeks any external fulfillment to silence the inner howl. Emotional dependence in friendships or romantic partnerships, the feeling that we are not complete without the constant presence of others, and the belief that our happiness resides exclusively in external validation. All these are powerful echoes of this profound yearning for affection and belonging that, often unconsciously, drives us and, at times, traps us in cycles of unhappiness. To delve into the essence of neediness and belonging, no creature illustrates this dynamic as vividly as the wolf. Despite its legendary image as a solitary hunter under the moon, evoked in tales and films, the biological truth is that wolves are profoundly social and gregarious animals. They live in packs, highly organized family and social units that form the very foundation of their existence, security, and reproductive success. A wolf pack is not merely a random gathering of individuals. It's a complex structure with well-defined hierarchies, where every member, from the alpha wolf to the youngest pup, plays a vital role. This cohesion is fundamental for their survival and prosperity. Together, they hunt larger and stronger prey, protect their territory from rivals, defend against external threats, and ensure the safety and development of the pups. For a wolf, being outside the pack, whether due to expulsion, getting lost during a hunt, or venturing too far alone, represents an imminent danger. Solitude in the wild means facing risks like starvation, predators, and disease without the group's support, drastically reducing their chances of survival. It is within this context of deep interdependence that the wolf's howl transcends mere sound and becomes a complex and vital language. A howl can serve multiple purposes, signaling location to other pack members over long distances, guiding them across vast and dense terrains, alerting about the presence of prey predators or intruders in the territory, or even reinforcing the group's social bonds in a harmonious chorus, which functions as a kind of auditory reunion. But crucially, the solitary howl is a desperate call. It's an active and intense search for contact, an attempt to locate lost companions or to indicate one's own presence in the hope of being found. It's not a passive lament of sadness, but an active plea for a response and affirmation that one is not completely isolated, and an insistent search for a reunion with the security, warmth, and strength that only the group can offer. A wolf's life is intrinsically linked to its community. Hunting success depends on perfect team coordination. Protection against threats is exponentially reinforced by numbers. And raising pups is a collective responsibility, with all adults contributing to their care. The wolf that howls alone, therefore, is not merely expressing anguish. It is actively trying to re-establish a lost connection, yearning for a return to the safety, affection, and belonging that only its pack can provide. It perfectly embodies the primal need for connection and social interdependence that are vital for the survival and flourishing of its species. The similarity between the solitary wolf's howl and human emotional neediness is not only fascinating, but profoundly revealing of our most intimate nature. Both phenomena, in their purest and most instinctive essence, represent an innate cry for connection, for recognition, and for a safe, welcoming place in the world. Just as the wolf intrinsically depends on its pack to survive, thrive, and feel complete, we humans need our tribe, be it biological or chosen, family, close friends, a romantic partner, or a community that shares our values to feel whole, secure, and loved. When we are overwhelmed by feelings of devastating loneliness or social isolation, our organism responds with a set of alarm signals, very similar to those a wolf might feel when lost and far from its pack. We emit emotional signals that can manifest as anxiety, profound sadness, or an uncontrollable, almost irrational urge to fill the void. We seek the validation of a like on a social media post with the same intensity and urgency that a hungry wolf sniffs the fresh trail of its pack. We cling to relationships that, although toxic or dysfunctional, offer us a minimal sense of not being alone, mirroring the wolf that, even injured or in conflict, desperately tries to reintegrate into the group, because the prospect of absolute solitude and helplessness is even more terrifying and threatening to its existence. The need for a social mirror is a powerful and undeniable driving force in both species. The wolf defines and recognizes itself within the pack's dynamics, hierarchies, and interactions. It understands its role, identity, and value through continuous interaction with its peers. Similarly, we humans build our self-image, our identity, and our sense of self-worth through social interactions and the constant feedback we receive from those around us. When we lack this mirror, when we don't feel seen, understood, accepted, or valued for who we are, the acute discomfort and overwhelming emptiness of neediness arise. The human howl can be subtle and almost inaudible to others, an unanswered text message, the insistence on initiating empty conversations in the hope of engagement, or even the resigned silence of someone who has given up crying out for attention and acceptance. These remarkable parallels reveal an instinctive and universal truth that transcends species barriers. None of us were genetically programmed to exist in total isolation. The pursuit of belonging is not a character flaw or a sign of weakness. Rather, it is a powerful and fundamental evolutionary force. It is this innate need that drives us, from generation to generation, to form bonds, to create communities, to cooperate for the common good, and to seek the affection and security that nourish our souls and ensure our continuity, just as the wolf seeks the warmth, protection, and synergy of its pack. It is the deep recognition that we are interdependent beings, intrinsically shaped by the vital need for connection. The need for connection and the feeling of neediness are not just metaphorical concepts or subjective sensations. They have deep and verifiable roots in human psychology and evolutionary biology. For us, emotional neediness can be largely explained by social psychology, a field that underscores the vital importance of basic social needs for psychological well-being and healthy individual development. One of the most influential theories in this context is the self-determination theory, proposed by psychologists Edward Deci and Richard Ryan. This theory identifies belongingness as one of three innate and universal psychological needs, alongside autonomy and competence. When this fundamental need to belong and to feel connected to others is frustrated or unmet, we experience profound discomfort and distress, which directly manifests as neediness. From a biological and evolutionary perspective, the pursuit of connection is a survival imperative dating back to the dawn of our species. For early humans, just like for wolves, living in a group was not an option, but an indispensable strategy for survival and gene propagation. A solitary human or wolf was infinitely more vulnerable to predators, starvation, disease, and the inability to successfully reproduce and protect their offspring. For this fundamental reason, our brains evolved over millennia to reward us physiologically when we are connected, and to punish us when we feel isolated. This social pain is as real and impactful as physical pain, and serves as a powerful alarm mechanism, compelling us to seek the group, re-establish bonds, and avoid the deadly danger of isolation. Neuroscience studies using functional magnetic resonance imaging show that the experience of social rejection or profound loneliness activates the same brain areas that process physical pain, such as the anterior cingulate cortex. This means that, for our brain, being excluded, ignored, or feeling deeply alone is literally a painful experience at the neural level. This is the neurobiological basis of emotional neediness, an innate and programmed need for belonging that, when unmet, generates profound psychological and physical suffering. In the case of wolves, this same dynamic of group survival cooperation in hunting, mutual protection against threats, territorial defense, and the collective, careful raising of pups strongly reinforced natural selection for social and communicative behaviors, like howling. The howl, therefore, is not just a random sound, but a vital tool for social cohesion, a neural and hormonal reflection of the innate need to keep the pack united for the species' survival and success. Science, through psychology and biology, unequivocally demonstrates that, in both humans and wolves, connection is an essential pillar of existence, intrinsically inscribed in our very biology. Emotional neediness, this inner howl for connection, manifests in countless ways, often subtly, yet profoundly impactful in our daily lives. It permeates our behaviors, decisions, and reactions, like the invisible trail of a wolf seeking its pack in the vast wilderness. Let's explore some concrete and easily identifiable examples to illustrate this vital dynamic. The relentless online validation seeker. Consider Anna, a young woman who dedicates considerable time and effort to crafting the perfect post for her social media. After publishing, she can't put her phone down, obsessively refreshing the page every minute. Every like, every positive comment is an immediate balm, an echo of validation that temporarily soothes her inner howl. However, if engagement is low, if notifications don't come in. She feels invisible, inadequate, and, most disturbingly, questions her own worth and relevance. Her wolf is howling desperately for approval, and the silence of the social network is interpreted as a painful and personal rejection. The hostage of a toxic relationship. Howl finds himself trapped in a relationship where he doesn't feel loved, respected, or even seen. There are constant arguments, emotional manipulations, and a persistent climate of dissatisfaction. Nevertheless, the thought of ending the relationship terrifies him more than the unhappiness itself. He prefers the familiar pain of a dysfunctional companionship and the constant discomfort to the overwhelming vertigo of a solitude he believes he cannot endure. His howl is the primal fear of not finding anyone else, of being a wolf without a pack, and thus he desperately clings to a connection that ironically suffocates and destroys him. The "I say yes to everything" syndrome. Maria is the epitome of a helpful person, almost a safe haven for friends and family. She never refuses a request for help, even if it means overloading herself, losing precious sleep, or postponing her own important commitments and dreams. Her howl is the deep desire to be indispensable, to be loved, and to feel needed by her group, fearing that a simple no could lead to disapproval or, in the worst-case scenario, to exclusion. The approval of others becomes the fuel that keeps her in this exhausting dynamic, sacrificing her own needs for the sake of belonging. The solitary in the crowd. At a crowded party, a noisy social event, or even in the workplace, Pedro feels like an outsider. He observes groups chatting and laughing, but an invisible and insurmountable barrier prevents him from approaching. He feels like a wolf observing a pack to which he doesn't belong, even though he is physically in the same environment and sharing the same space. He experiences a profound sensation that even surrounded by people, he is irremediably alone. His howl is silent, a pain of exclusion that echoes louder amidst the noise of others socializing, intensifying his loneliness. The relentless pursuit of company or entertainment. Lavra cannot bear the thought of being alone at home for long. As soon as she gets home from work, she immediately turns on the television, puts on loud music, calls a friend, or compulsively binge-watches a series. Silence and idleness terrify her, for it is in these quiet moments that the howl of her neediness resonates loudest, revealing an inner void that she feels incapable of filling on her own. She needs to fill every minute with some form of presence, even if it's through screens or other people's voices, to muffle the disturbing feeling of being helpless and disconnected. These mini-stories vividly illustrate how the universal yearning for connection, deeply rooted in our most primal instincts, and so clearly mirrored in the wolf's behavior, manifests in our most everyday behaviors, sometimes subtly and almost imperceptibly, sometimes openly and, unfortunately, self-destructively. They show us that neediness is not just a feeling, but a force that shapes our interactions. Understanding emotional neediness as the howl of a wolf searching for its pack offers us a transformative perspective for self-knowledge and self-compassion. This innate need for connection should not be viewed as a character flaw or a weakness to be hidden. On the contrary, it is a fundamental instinct that, when recognized and properly directed, can guide us toward a more fulfilling, balanced life with truly meaningful relationships. The first and most crucial lesson is to learn to listen to and recognize your own howl. Where does it manifest in your life? Is it in the relentless pursuit of external validation, turning social media into a thermometer of your worth? Is it in the paralyzing fear of loneliness, which prevents you from ending relationships that don't serve you? Is it in the difficulty of setting healthy boundaries, saying yes to everything to please others? Or in the need to constantly sacrifice yourself for others to feel accepted and needed? Accepting that this need exists within you, without judgment or guilt, is the first and most important step to managing it constructively. Don't blame yourself for feeling this yearning. It's a heritage of your biology, an intrinsic part of your evolutionary history as a social being. The second lesson is to develop and nurture your own inner pack. This essentially means cultivating self-esteem and emotional self-sufficiency. A strong wolf, even if it howls for connection and depends on the pack for survival, possesses an innate sense of its individual worth, its hunting skills, and its ability to cope when necessary. Similarly, building a solid sense of self-worth that is both independent of external approval and validation is fundamental for your emotional health. This doesn't imply social isolation or becoming an island. Rather, it means developing the capacity to enjoy your own company, to be your own best friend, and to filter out external voices, allowing only those that truly nourish and uplift you to resonate. Learn to love yourself, respect yourself, and fulfill yourself from within, so that the search for others is for addition, for sharing, and for complementarity, not for a desperate filling of a void. Finally, reflect deeply on the quality of your external connections. The wolf seeks a pack where there is security, mutual support, genuine cooperation, and a true sense of belonging. Similarly, we humans must be selective and intentional when choosing the people and environments that surround us. It is essential to seek and cultivate relationships that nourish us, respect us, positively challenge us to grow, and allow us to be authentic, without the need for masks or sacrifices of our true essence. Sometimes the persistent howl of our neediness is a clear sign that we are in the wrong pack, or that we need to adjust our own voice and energy to attract the connections that truly resonate with who we are and what we seek. Neediness, when viewed in this light, transcends its aspect of pain and transforms into a powerful invitation to self-analysis, to redefine priorities, and to build deeper, more meaningful, and truly healthy human bonds. It is a path to transform a perceived emptiness into a catalyst for personal growth and emotional fulfillment. The wolf's howl resonates in the night, a primal and powerful reminder that the need for connection is a universal and inherent force in our existence. Recognizing our own emotional neediness is not a flaw or a weakness to be hidden, but rather a profound invitation to look inward, to understand our most primitive instincts, and to seek the belonging that truly completes us. What is your deepest howl? And who or what do you seek to answer it in a genuine and nurturing way on your journey?